Welcome back in. Today we're going to be discussing our week 3 streaming options for defense and kickers. Let's go ahead and get right into it. We're going to start things off with the defensive side of the ball. We're going to talk about the Raiders first. Now, the Raiders were easily one of the top streaming options this week with a really juicy matchup against the Panthers and their abysmal offense. However, the Panthers did make a switch at quarterback and benching Bryce Young, replacing him with Andy Dalton. The situation is not as good as it was prior to, but the Raiders, I still think, are one of the better options this week. The Raiders' defensive front has been phenomenal to start the season. Next, Crosby ranks 6th in pressure win rate percentage, and as well as both Adam Butler and Christian Wilkins also ranking inside the top 6 for defensive tackles in terms of pressure win rate. The Raiders are a solid long-term ad as well as they get matchups against the Panthers, Browns, Broncos, and Steelers over their next 4. I just think this is a really good matchup. If you remember when Antonio Pierce took over last season, this defense really took off and started to play much better. Keep moving here. Let's move over to the Buccaneers. With Bryce Young now benched, Bo Nix is now pushing probably for the mantle for the worst quarterback in the league right now. He has truly been dreadful through 2 starts. He has also been sacked 4 times and has been hit 7 times, which is the 3rd highest rate in the league. The Bucs have dealt with some injuries, most notably Villa with an injury against the Lions. However, he is considered day-to-day at this point. But still, I think this is a really good matchup for the Bucs. We're only rostered in 5% of leagues right now. So Buccaneers, really solid option here this week. Let's keep moving. Let's move over to a little primetime matchup, and that is the Cincinnati Bengals, who are rostered in 20% of leagues. The Bengals defense have struggled with injuries so far this season, but they have still played pretty well. They are top 5 in pressure rate this season, and that lines up well against Jane Daniels and the Commanders. Daniels has been sacked 7 times through 3 games, which is the 5th highest rate in the league. The Bengals have also done a really good job really limiting passing games, as they've only allowed 134.5 passing yards per game, which is the 2nd lowest rate in the league. And I don't expect that to change this week, as Daniels has really struggled to move the ball through the air. He has basically been more so picking up yardage on the ground, and is kind of what's kept him afloat so far. I do think the Bengals are a really good option this week at home. So the Bengals, I definitely think, are another strong option. Lastly, this is a defense that I wasn't expecting to talk about this week, though one I have talked about each of the last 2 weeks. I don't want to talk about them again, and that's going to be the Seattle Seahawks, who are rostered in 41% of leagues. Originally, this would have been a stay-away spot with Tua Tagovailoa, but now that he is obviously ruled out with an unfortunate concussion, this leaves Skylar Thompson and newly signed Tyler Huntley as their options. The Seahawks have been a reliable source of fantasy production as they come in as the DST 11 so far through 2 games. They also rank top 3 in pressure rate on the season, and the Dolphins have really struggled in that department. So I do think the Seahawks are another really strong option again this week. And lastly, just a couple honorable mentions. I do think Indy versus Chicago. Caleb Williams has taken a lot of sacks so far to start the season. So I do think Indy could be kind of a sneaky little option here. And then you also have the Giants versus the Jaguars. This Jaguars offense has really been pretty brutal so far to start the season. And so I do think the Giants, who have done a really good job of getting after the quarterback so far this year, and they're also ranked top 10 in pressure rate as well, could also be another option you could look at. So let's keep moving. Let's move over to the kicker position, and let's start things off with Blake Grupe. The Saints have been phenomenal to start this season. They've racked up 91 total points through 2 games, and Grupe has been a big beneficiary of this, as he has kicked a league-leading 11 PATs. He has converted 10 of 11 of those. He's also 5 of 5 on his field goal attempts. Has connected on three of them for 40-plus yards. He is currently the kicker 5 right now, and is only rostered in 4% of leagues. And the Saints will have a home matchup against the Eagles, and this has one of the highest totals on the slate with 48.5 points too. So that is also another really good sign here. So all things considered, Blake Grupe is easily the best streaming option this week, and something you could probably look for as a little bit of long-term option as well. Let's keep it moving here, and let's move on to Matt Prater against the Lions. The Cardinals have been one of the best offenses in the league really through the first 2 games of the season. Prater has benefited with kicking the 3rd most PATs, and he also went 4 for 4 on field goals, and 2 of those being 40-plus yards. This week, the Cardinals welcome the Lions to town, and what could be one of the highest scoring games of the week. Prater is currently the kicker 12 and is averaging 11 fantasy points per game in the short sample size. But Matt Prater, really good option this week against the Lions. Let's keep it moving. Our good old friend Cairo Santos, someone we've talked about quite a bit so far, but he gets the Colts this week, as we've talked about. Santos has picked up where he left off last season, as he is currently the kicker 8 on the season. He's averaging 12 fantasy points per game. He has nailed all 5 field goals, converted 3 from 50-plus yards. He would actually be even higher if he had more than 2 point-after attempts. As the Bears' offense improves, I do think Santos becomes an even more reliable option. And then lastly, I just kind of want to throw him in here. Cam Little versus the Bills. The rookie place kicker is currently averaging 7 fantasy points per game. He made 304 field goals and a long of 53 yards. The issue with Little has been he's only attempted 3 PAT so far, which is limiting his scoring chances. With so many low totals this week, the Jags versus Bills opened up with the fourth highest total with 48 points. We know Little has the leg. We just need the Jags offense to get things going a little bit to bring up his floor. So that being said, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button for future content. If you have any questions, who you should add, who you should drop, let us know in the comment section below. We'll be happy to answer them. Let's get ready to get these dubs this week for week 3. We'll see you on the next one. Bye.